Hey guys, so today we're talking dupes, and this isn't going to necessarily be a video where I'm showing you drugstore dupes for high-end makeup. Some of them might just coincidentally be, but these are really just products that I have realized dupe each other within my collection. It wasn't even like I was searching for a dupe for any of these, but lately I've been noticing, even with my relatively curated makeup collection, I do have products that just happen to dupe each other in my collection, shade for shade dupes. So maybe this video will help you out if maybe you were thinking of buying one of these items and you already own the duplicate, then you know to save your money. It also just shows me what kinds of shades I might be more drawn to, and then I know in the future to take a look in my own collection before I go out and buy another shade that's really similar to what I already own. It also just kind of goes to show that a lot of shades of makeup are not that unique. Let's say, for example, you're really drawn to peachy blushes and you're always kind of searching for the next peachy blush to add to your collection. You may be able to look into your existing collection and dupe that new product you're eyeing before you purchase it to avoid having multiples of the same type of shade over and over in your collection. So let's just go ahead and get into it. I just thought this would be a fun video, and it was just kind of something I wanted to do for my own information anyway, and I thought I'd share it in video form. So speaking of peachy blushes, I have two cream blushes that are basically dupes for each other, and they are the Annabelle Perfect Cream Blush in Subtle Coral and the LYS Higher Standard Satin Matte Cream Blush in Kindness. These are both, of course, cream blushes, although they are in a different format. The LYS one is in a compact, whereas the Annabelle one is in a stick. They are both matte though, they don't have any shimmer to them, and I'm sure that the formulas are not exactly the same, but with a cream blush, I mean, look at those two shades side by side. That is the Annabelle, and that is the LYS. So very, very similar. The LYS is maybe a little bit lighter, but on the cheeks, these are gonna look probably the exact same. So if you already own one of these and you were thinking of buying the other, now you know you can probably skip it. I would say actually the Annabelle one, now that I have them both on my hand, the Annabelle one is a little bit dewier, while the LYS one does have less of a shine to it. And they do say this is a satin matte cream blush, so subtle differences, but the shades are very, very similar. So this next one is actually kind of the product that inspired this video, or is one of the ones that sort of planted the seed for me, and it's these two lip glosses, both from e.l.f., but they are different formulas. We have the e.l.f. Lip Lacquer in Fantasy and the e.l.f. Lip Plumping Gloss in Pink Cosmo. I already had the Lip Lacquer in Fantasy in my collection for a few months, and Champagne Glam had been on my wish list for a very long time. It didn't even occur to me that these might be the same exact shade. I mean, just looking at the two side by side in the tube, they look basically the same. Now, the formulas of these are different. The Lip Plumping Gloss is more of your traditional lip plumping gloss. It does kind of give you that cooling, slightly tingly sensation to your lips, whereas the Lip Lacquer is just like your typical gloss. It doesn't have any kind of plumping effect to it. The textures are also slightly different. I would say the Lip Lacquer is a little bit thinner, whereas the Lip Plumping Gloss in Champagne Glam is a little bit stickier. So if you happen to be eyeing both of these, or you're looking for a gloss that's kind of this sheer champagne-y, iridescent kind of color, hopefully that can help you figure out which of these two formulas you'd prefer. I do slightly prefer the Lip Plumping Gloss over the Lip Lacquer. The Lip Plumping Gloss is double the price. It's $6, whereas the Lip Lacquer is $3. So I probably didn't need to buy the Lip Plumping Gloss, at least not until I finished the Lip Lacquer, but I have them both. I will use them both, but it's good information for me to pass on to you guys in case you own one and were thinking of buying the other. Another blush dupe that I have, and one of these I've actually already decluttered, but I do still have it because I haven't passed it on to anyone yet. These are two drugstore blushes. We have the Covergirl Cheekers blush in Soft Sable and the e.l.f. Bite Size Cheek Duo in Lychee. So obviously the e.l.f. duo is a duo, whereas the Cheekers blush is just one blush. But my favorite way to wear this e.l.f. duo is by mixing the two shades together anyway. But I actually much prefer the look of the e.l.f. duo on my cheeks. The Soft Sable from Covergirl, I could just never get this to work on my cheeks. I think it was just way too dark, and it's got quite a sheen to it that I just feel like made it look very patchy and weird on my cheeks. But the colors of these are basically the same. Very similar, kind of spicy brownish rose. So there are those two blushes swatched side by side. The top one is the Covergirl Soft Sable blush, and the bottom one is the e.l.f. duo in Lychee, and that's the two shades mixed together. You can see the Covergirl blush does have much more of a sheen to it that I think it's just too much of a sheen for a blush. I found it very hard to pull off, at least on my skin tone. But the e.l.f. Duo also has a glow when you mix the two together, or top the matte side with the shimmer side. And I mean, you can see like the undertone is the same, the shade is basically the same. The finish is not exactly the same, but if you own one of these and like it, you probably don't need to buy the other. And if you were eyeing either one of these, I would recommend the e.l.f. Lychee Duo over the CoverGirl Cheekers Blush in Soft Sable. I do like the CoverGirl Cheekers Blush in Natural Twinkle, but that's a totally different formula. This is a very glowy blush, whereas Natural Twinkle is more matte with like a little bit of shimmer mixed in, but this is just like next level glowy. It almost looks like a highlighter. This might work better for more like medium skin tones, but on my fair skin, it looks terrible, whereas the e.l.f. Lychee I actually can pull off on my skin tone. Okay, I do have a few more lip color dupes that I've found, and this is another one where one of them I've already decluttered because they were identical. But here we have the CoverGirl 24-Hour Matte Lipstick in the shade Thrill Seeker, and the Madame Gabriella Beauty lipstick in New York at 1 p.m. And there they are side by side. I mean, they're the same. This one is the CoverGirl, this one is the Madame Gabriella. I did end up decluttering the Madame Gabriella because I do prefer the formula of the CoverGirl. The CoverGirl one is more of a matte formula and it actually has great staying power, whereas the Madame Gabriella one is more of your traditional kind of cream bullet lipstick. You can see it's got a little more shine to it, but the staying power on that one is not as good as the CoverGirl, and with a bold color like this, I prefer more staying power anyway. Madame Gabriella is a very expensive brand. This was sent to me in PR, and yeah, I would say save your money, get the CoverGirl. I really like this CoverGirl 24-Hour Matte formula. I would definitely consider picking up more shades in the future because it's really interesting. It's almost like a liquid lipstick, like it does kind of set down on your lips, and it wears really, really well. So I got this on a major discount at Walgreens, but I do think they still sell this line, so definitely recommend that formula. All right, the next one is another one that kind of inspired this video, and it's two lip liners. This is like my favorite color of nude lip liner, and these are the Jordana lip liner in Rockin' Rose and the new BK Beauty Everlast lip liner in Warm Spice. I love this kind of cool toned rosy brownish shade whenever I'm wearing a nude lip. The Jordana one has been a holy grail of mine for like over a year now. Unfortunately, Jordana went out of business at the end of last year, so I've been kind of keeping in the back of my mind that I need to find a dupe for this. And then, perfect timing, the BK Beauty one came into my life right when I'm like really almost done with the Jordana one. This is all I have left, so I was getting a little nervous about what I was going to do for a dupe, but these are super similar. Now, the prices are obviously different. The Jordana one was like $3 or $4. The BK Beauty one is $12. But here they are. This is the Jordana. This is the BK Beauty. I mean, I don't really see a difference. And formula-wise, they also feel very similar. They're both creamy. They glide on very smoothly, but they're also nice and long-wearing, and yeah, very similar packaging as well. So if you've been on the lookout for a dupe for Jordana Rockin' Rose, BK Warm Spice is an excellent choice. I wasn't expecting to like the shade because being called Warm Spice, I thought it was going to be like Milani Spice, but that one was always way too warm toned for me. But it's actually not as warm as I was thinking it was going to be based on the shade name. So really great find there. Another lip liner dupe. This I discovered in my most recent declutter video, but I have two more very, very similar shades. This one actually I decluttered because I didn't need to keep both. But we have the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Lip Pencil in Manic and the BK Beauty Everlast Lip Liner in Sweet Pea. Here those are. This is the Urban Decay Manic Lip Pencil and this is the BK Beauty Lip Pencil in Sweet Pea. I mean, basically the same, right? They're both that kind of soft, light to medium toned, rosy nude color. So if you already own the Urban Decay lip pencil in Manic, then you definitely don't need the Sweet Pea shade from BK Beauty, and vice versa. But if you're looking for this type of shade, and let's say you prefer a sharpenable pencil, go for the Urban Decay, or you prefer a retractable pencil, go for the BK Beauty. But if you are looking for a lip liner in this type of a shade, the BK Beauty one is $10 cheaper than the Urban Decay one. So maybe, you know, save you some money there. So lastly, I did find some eyeshadow dupes, and I'm sure if I were to like lay out all my palettes and like swatch similar shades next to each other, I'd find loads of dupes between palettes, like overlapping shades. But two palettes that jumped out at me that have some very similar shades are the Perfusion Pastel palette and the ColourPop In a Trance palette, believe it or not. So obviously these are very different palettes, but they are both pastel palettes. And if you were eyeing the Perfusion palette specifically for like the blues and purples, In a Trance has a lot of those same shades. Plus, it has some really pretty shimmers in it, whereas the Perfusion palette is all matte. But if you're looking for like a more comprehensive pastel palette, the Perfusion one obviously has way more color variety. But the shade dupes between these two palettes, the shade Daydream from Pastel is very similar to the shade Daydream Baby from In a Trance. It's funny that those also have very similar names. Now the ColourPop shade is one of those mattes with shimmer mixed in, but there are those two. The top one is ColourPop, the bottom one is Perfusion. Basically the same. Another dupe between the two is the shade Harmony from Perfusion and Own Your Power from ColourPop. So there's those two, both kind of periwinkle. Top one is ColourPop, bottom is Perfusion. And then another very similar shade between the two is Transcendence from ColourPop and Clarity from Perfusion. All three of these shades in the Perfusion palette are very similar. And there's those two. Top is ColourPop, bottom is Perfusion. So yeah, major similarities there. I think if you were eyeing one of these, it might not make sense to have both, even though they are very different. I do prefer the formula of the ColourPop In a Trance palette. I just think it's better. The Perfusion one is a little bit more powdery and sheer, but they're both good, like affordable palettes, so just something to keep in mind if you're like really drawn to blues and purples and you were eyeing the Perfusion Pastel palette for that reason. The In a Trance one might be a little bit better for you just because A, I do think the formula is a little bit higher quality, and B, you do get some shimmers and just a little bit more variety in terms of finish. But then if you prefer matte shadows and you're wanting more of a rainbow pastel palette, the Perfusion one would probably be the way to go. So those are some products that dupe each other from my collection. Hopefully you guys found this video interesting and helpful. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you've not already, and hopefully I will talk to you again tomorrow in my next video. Bye!